Full summary of Great Expectations. Stage 1. The Foundational Debt and False Aspirations. The story is narrated by Pip, Philip Pirrip, an orphan living with his harsh sister, Mrs. Joe Gargery, and his kind, illiterate brother-in-law, Joe Gargery, the blacksmith, in the bleak Kent marshes. As a small boy, Pip is accosted in the churchyard by Abel Magwitch, an escaped convict, who forces Pip to bring him food and a file. Pip, terrified by the convict's threat of a monstrous accomplice, steals the items. Though the convict is later captured, Pip keeps the secret, forever burdened by guilt and a sense of having been complicit in a crime. Satis House and Estella, the Desire. A few years later, Pip is sent to visit Miss Havisham, a wealthy, eccentric spinster who lives in the decaying mansion Satis House, wearing her tattered wedding dress from the day she was jilted decades earlier. There, Pip meets Miss Havisham's adopted daughter, Estella, a beautiful but cold girl. Estella cruelly highlights Pip's common manners and clothes, making him profoundly ashamed of his humble background and of Joe. Pip instantly falls in love with Estella and becomes desperate to become a gentleman to win her affection. He mistakenly believes Miss Havisham is his mysterious benefactor, grooming him to marry Estella. Pip's visits end when he is old enough to be formally apprenticed to Joe the blacksmith. Disappointed that he won't be made a gentleman, Pip works at the forge unhappily. Shortly after, Mrs. Joe is brutally attacked and left brain-damaged, unable to speak, communicate, or work. The weapon found nearby is a file from the forge, one Pip recognizes as belonging to the convict he helped long ago, deepening his sense of guilt. Stage 2. The Great Expectations and Moral Corruption. 4 years into his apprenticeship, Pip is visited by the powerful, intimidating London lawyer, Mr. Jaggers, who informs him that an anonymous benefactor has provided him with a large fortune. Pip must immediately travel to London to be educated as a gentleman. Pip assumes Miss Havisham is his benefactor, and that his dream of marrying Estella is about to come true. In London, Pip lives a life of expensive leisure, meeting his kind friend Herbert Pocket and the quirky law clerk Wemmick. As a gentleman, Pip becomes snobbish, wasteful, and increasingly ashamed of his roots. When Joe visits him in London, Pip is embarrassed by Joe's rough manners and illiterate speech, treating him coldly. Pip believes his expectations demand he distance himself from his past. He continues to pine for Estella, who is constantly distant, and warns him she is incapable of love. Stage 3. The Revelation, Redemption, and End. On Pip's 23rd birthday, his life is shattered by the arrival of an unexpected visitor, Abel Magwitch, the escaped convict from the marshes. Magwitch reveals that he is Pip's true, anonymous benefactor. He dedicated his life savings to making Pip a gentleman, repaying the kindness Pip showed him as a boy. Pip is horrified that his fortune comes from a criminal, and that Miss Havisham was merely using him for Estella's practice in breaking hearts. Pip realizes his expectations were built on shame and a lie. Magwitch, having illegally returned to England, is in great danger. Pip, overcoming his initial disgust, accepts Magwitch and grows to love him like a father. Pip and his friends plot Magwitch's escape, but they are betrayed by Compayson, the second convict, who was also the man who jilted Miss Havisham. Magwitch is arrested after a struggle where Compayson is drowned. Magwitch dies in prison, comforted by Pip's revelation that his daughter Estella is alive. Pip loses his fortune, which is confiscated by the state. Pip falls gravely ill and is nursed back to health by the faithful Joe, who also silently pays off all of Pip's large debts. Pip returns to the marshes, seeking Joe's forgiveness and planning to propose to his childhood friend Biddy. He finds that Joe and Biddy have just married. Pip accepts his place in life. He leaves England to work in a successful shipping business with Herbert Pocket. 11 years later, a wiser, matured Pip returns and runs into Estella, who has suffered heartbreak in a difficult marriage. In the novel's revised ending, the commonly accepted one, Pip and Estella meet on the ruined grounds of Satis House, suggesting they will finally remain together. The novel concludes with Pip understanding that loyalty, compassion, and inner worth are the only true, great expectations. And that brings us to the end of Pip's extraordinary journey, from a terrified boy in the marsh mud to a snobbish gentleman, and finally, to a humbled man who understood that true worth lies not in great expectations, but in great integrity. Hit the subscribe button right now and join the Garden of Perception, Secrets Under the Sky. Give this video a like if you think Joe Gargery is the real hero, and let me know in the comments, What's your favorite Dickens novel drawing illustration?